Hello, guys. Welcome to the first ever episode of KWaddSports. I apologize in advance for the lighting. Why are we not moving? There we go. Sorry. Okay, my bad. I thought the time wasn't going. We're going to start off with welcome to the new channel. If you guys don't know me, I run a gaming channel called Canuck and Nuts. You could follow them. But here we're talking about sports only. Sports are great. Sports are fun, especially in the world we live in right now where the pandemic is really taken off and we're certain places, especially here in Ontario, where we're in a lockdown as of Boxing Day. So my plan is for this channel is I'll talk about stuff, drop comments. As it stands right now, I don't have any editing software or a good camera, so I am going to go live on YouTube for these videos. But going forward, I'll have it. I want you guys to comment as much as you can when these videos go up for real. I'll try and get back to any of you guys as much as possible. But without further ado, I mean, why don't we just get started on the first episode? I already had a plan to talk about the NHL and their plan to come back. Once again, sorry guys, I keep watching this. I apologize for the lighting. Like I said, I don't have the greatest of lighting. Give me 1 second. I could try my best. If that would help at all, just see here. There we go. That looks brighter. There we go. Okay, so NHL, they plan to start the season on January 13th and give the teams that did not make the playoffs, so the 7 of them, to start training camp on New Year's Eve. Well, the other teams can come back in a couple of days right after that. So they want to go and play the season till, if I read again correctly, till May. So every team will be in play till May, and then they want to go a month or two. By the looks of it, I can't remember off the top of my head. It looked like a month or two only of playoff hockey because they want to get the free agency and the draft by the end of July, which I assume patent pending if the pandemic is over by then. They want to get the next season started up again in September and with training camp, preseason, and just get back to on time with an October start. So they are realigning divisions just to make travel time easier. And so teams aren't traveling across the country from San Jose to New York, where certain places have restrictions, and then they would have to isolate coming back, which would push stuff back. As for Canada right now, they don't know what's going on. There's no confirm if they're going to play their games in Canada or not due to provincial rules. I know as a fact right now, Ontario did get the okay for them to practice while the lockdown goes down. That doesn't mean if they can play or not. But for now, as it stands, it looks like they might be going down south to play in the States, and all 4 divisions will be in the States. I'll talk about the divisions and talk about what my expectations and all that. So in starting off in the Canadian division, we'll start the North Division, as they call it. I mean, people I've talked to, they say Toronto's got the easy run with this. They got an easy division. Me personally, I don't think it's as easy as people see it out to be. I see teams like Vancouver or Edmonton, even Calgary, for what they've added in the offseason, can really push for that first. And I know I'm saying the Western teams, but they're more put together and have more superstars in a way. Not saying Toronto doesn't. I mean, they've got like Matthews, Tavares, Marner, Nylander, Riley, a lot of great guys, but they lack depth. And I know they picked it up in the offseason with guys like Simmons and Thornton and all. But I think personally, I could see Vancouver being the team that wins that division just for something, because they've got a full team that can really help. And I mean, they lost players this offseason, but they also got a guy like Braden Holtby who's won a Stanley Cup, who knows what it takes. And his contract's only 2 years. So when his contract's up, Thatcher Demko still develops. And then you got another goal. You got a great goaltender right there. Thatcher Demko is going to be a great goalie for those Canucks in the future. Like I said, though, with them losing players, they could have got a guy like Mike Hoffman. I think he would have really helped. If 1 year contract, I know he brings baggage with what happened in Ottawa, but that would really help with the goal scoring, considering they lost to Foley. Like I said, other team Calgary, they added Vancouver. Essentially, they got Markstrom and Tanev, the 2 big guys right there. They get a number 1 goaltender that they've been searching for since, I think, Mika Kiprusoff days. And then they get another guy to bolster that defense, and Chris Tanev. Like I said, if Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan and company can get going, and they got solid goaltending, I think they're a team that can really push for that number 1 spot. As well, Edmonton, I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl will lead the way on that team, but they added players. They added depth at center. They got Kyle Turris, a great guy who used to be a number 1 center in Ottawa. He hadn't panned out really in Nashville, but I think he could really pan out on a third line role in Edmonton. Their goaltending is a bit iffy. I think they need to add something in there. Obviously, Koskinen and Smith, I don't think are the plan for them. They have guys in the system, but I don't think that's going to help them in the long run. Like I said, Toronto got depth, which was what they were lacking. They also got another good goaltender. Sorry, they got a defenseman in TJ Brody. That really helps that defense right there with Riley, Muzzin, Dermott, Hall, a lot of those guys right there. And then they also, like I said, the depth guys in like Simmons and Thornton are really going to help the bottom six with Spezza and company, because that gives them leadership and veteran experience to that team that I think they were lacking. Winnipeg, I could see them being a middle tier team only because their defense, I think, is looking pretty not the greatest. Obviously, they don't have that number one. Josh Morrissey is their best defenseman, and I think they could get more. Pionk is another great defenseman, but they're lacking something right there, and especially losing Byfuglien to contract termination, it really is not going to help them. They just need to find something for that defense. They got a great offense. They've got a lot of power up there, and they got a great goaltender, Vezina-winning Connor Hellebuck, but I think they're going to need to get a defense. Montreal added players, which was great to see. They needed to add that. They got Tyler Toffoli, a goal scorer that can help them. I think a lot of people saying that they could win the division. I don't think they can win the division. I think they're still working in progress, especially with guys like Kotkaniemi and Suzuki. Those guys just need a little bit more time. I could see them they could push. Don't get me wrong, they could push. But I think they're middle pack tier, if not a little bit lower, just because they are still a younger team. And last but not least, the Ottawa Senators. I mean, obviously everybody knows where they're going to be projected. They're going to be projected last, even though they added guys like Matt Murray, Evgeny Dadonov, Alex Galchenyuk. Me personally, they could surprise a lot of people with that team. I know they're very young and very unexperienced, but if they're going to play in an all-Canadian division and they go up against guys like Matthews, McDavid, Pettersson, Scheifele, Laine, all those guys, it's really going to help that team develop. So I'm pretty much sure that they would finish last in this division. It would help with their draft picks because they can get another player to help in this rebuild. But yeah, they're not going. I don't think they're going to win that division or they'll make noise. Don't get me wrong. They'll make noise with that team, but they're not winning a division this year. They're still a rebuilding team. They still got to grow together. As for other teams, I think the one team that's going to be not a big surprise, but not a shock if they make the playoffs and actually win games this year would be the New York Rangers. They added Alexis Lafreniere, the first overall pick this year, which was big surprise considering that they made the playoffs technically. What we can talk about that in another episode, the lottery and all that. But they still got guys. They got Zibanejad still, Kakko, Panarin, Trouba. They got a great team, and they got two good goaltenders in Shesterkin and Georgiev. So, I mean, they've got a good team, and they are going to be a powerhouse team for years to come. As for a team that I think may have lost out a little bit would be the Washington Capitals. They lost out on Braden Holtby, which everybody saw for coming months up to free agency. I figured that was going to happen. But then they signed Henrik Lundqvist, but then it was deemed a couple days ago since I'm recording this, that Henrik Lundqvist can't play this year due to a heart condition. So the NHL is requiring teams to carry 3 goaltenders in this pandemic ready-to-play kind of game scenario. So they still have Ilya Samsonov, which is great, a young goaltender, but they need to find other guys. So, I mean, I've read notes already, and people like Ryan Miller, good old goaltender that can help out. Craig Anderson, former Ottawa Senator goaltender. Even Corey Schneider, former Canuck and Devil goaltender. I think those 3 guys could really help back up Ilya Samsonov and help Washington still be a playoff team. As for other teams, I mean, there's a lot of additions and a lot of subtractions this year. Vegas, they really added in defense, which they could help with, and that was Pietrangelo. The only issue is now they're facing the cap, and they're over the cap, and we're still years away from the Kraken coming into this league. So the rumor right now is Max Pacioretty getting traded. And what I've read, and I'll throw it in similar. So Tampa Bay is looking at possibly going after Henrik Zetterberg's contract, which would free up, I believe it's $4 to $6 million. I can't remember off the top of my head. So you put that on LTIR, you actually save money against the cap for that. So Vegas did that with Pacioretty. That's $7 million right there. And a team like that would be Ottawa that could take that player and use him. He's got, I think, 2 years left on that deal. That would help Ottawa dramatically with the offensive. So look like Vegas will trade Pacioretty possibly, I'm going to say, by – so if we're coming back in January, I say by March, which usually be March break, he will be dealt, and he will be dealt before even, I'd say, training camp, because they need to get under the cap so they can ice a team. Other teams, I mean, Boston lost out on their top defense, or one of their top defensemen, in Torrey Krug. He went to St. Louis. I still think they're a competitive team, but that they need defense now. Chara's not there right now. It's just McAvoy. But they need to find defense, and there's still good defense out. Even Travis Hamonick's a good pickup for that team. The rough and tough Boston Bruins could really use that. LA also another winner when it came to the draft, for example, when it comes to the future. Quinton Byfield's an amazing player. He'll help that team in a lot of years to come. They got so much center depth over there. It's crazy. I could name you guys like Kupari, Velarde, Anderson Dolan, Byfield. Like, that's just 4 already, and there is a lot more when it comes to center. Alex Turcotte even. So that's 5 centers right there. So they can use even one of those players as trade bait and get something, especially for the defense, because Doughty is now 30 with an $11 million contract for the next 7 years. So they're going to want to use that. Need to know that they got to work around that. Kopitar's got 3 years left, I believe, at $10 million. So they are going to rebuild that team, but they will be a great team come in 3-4 years with Quinton Byfield as their man. But I mean, other teams, they did make a lot of noise. I could go down the list for you. Detroit, even, they were the bottom team last year, and they got the players for depth that we all know. Even I think they know that they're not going to be a top team. They're going to be going for the basement again. So adding guys like Nemestikov and Stetcher and Bobby Ryan, those are just good depth players to help the young guys like Dylan Larkin, even Anthony Mantha, I'll still say young. Lucas Raymond, if he comes and plays. Philip Sedina, another one. Sorry, I just had to think of that. So they have good depth players and good role players coming in for them. It's now a matter of developing the younger players. As I'm looking at the time, guys, we will call this an end to this episode. Let me know what you guys think about some of the moves the NHL teams have made this year and what your predictions are for this upcoming season and standings. I'll be back in another episode. We'll talk about something. We'll drop. You guys can drop in the comments what you want me to talk about. We could talk about anything. We could talk about the NFL season almost being over. We could talk about the NBA season starting, and even talk about just separately James Harden, because that is a big thing going on in the NBA. We could talk about whatever you guys want about sports, but for now, I'm gonna log off now. You guys take care, and please drop comments, and I'll see you guys next episode.